Maya Johnson stood at the big metal gates of Riverside High School and took a deep breath. The morning air was cold, and she could see her breath making small clouds in front of her face. Her dark hands gripped the straps of her backpack tighter as she looked up at the tall brick building that would be her new school. This was the fourth school she had attended in 3 years, and she was tired of always being the new girl. The parking lot was filled with students getting out of cars and walking toward the main entrance. Maya noticed how most of them looked the same with their blonde hair and fair skin. She knew she would stand out here just like she had at every other school. Her curly black hair and brown skin always made her different, and she had learned to expect the stares and whispers that came with being different. Maya started walking toward the school building and immediately felt eyes on her. A group of girls near the entrance stopped talking and looked at her from head to toe. She heard one of them whisper something to her friend, and they both giggled. Maya kept her head up and walked past them like she had done many times before. Inside the school, the hallways were crowded with students rushing to their lockers and first-period classes. Maya pulled out a piece of paper with her schedule and tried to find room 201 for her first class. The hallways were confusing, and she had to ask a teacher for directions. As she walked down the hall, she noticed more students staring at her and some pointing while they talked to their friends. Finally, Maya found her first class, which was English literature. She walked in, and the teacher, Mrs. Wilson, smiled at her warmly. The classroom fell quiet as Maya entered, and every student turned to look at the new girl. Mrs. Wilson introduced Maya to the class and told her to take the empty seat in the third row. As Maya walked to her seat, she could feel 20 pairs of eyes watching her every move. During the class, Maya tried to focus on the lesson about Shakespeare, but she kept noticing students turning around to look at her. When the teacher asked questions, Maya knew the answers, but she stayed quiet. She had learned that speaking up on the first day often made things worse. At her last school, some students had said she was trying to show off when she answered questions correctly. When the bell rang, Maya gathered her books and headed to her next class. In the hallway, a tall boy with blonde hair bumped into her on purpose, and her books fell to the floor. He kept walking without saying sorry while his friends laughed. Maya bent down to pick up her books, and a few students stepped over them instead of helping her. At lunch, Maya sat alone at a table in the back corner of the cafeteria. She had brought her lunch from home and ate quietly while watching the other students. They all seemed to know each other and sat in groups that had probably been formed years ago. Maya wondered if she would ever find a place where she belonged. What Maya did not tell anyone was that her father was Marcus Reed, one of the most famous country music singers in America. He had sold millions of records and won many awards, but Maya had promised him she would never use his fame to make her life easier. She wanted people to like her for who she was, not because of who her father was. After school, Maya walked home to the small house they had rented near the school. Her father was on tour and would not be back for 2 weeks. Maya did her homework and practiced guitar in her room. Music was the only thing that made her feel better when school was hard. That night, Maya called her father and told him school was fine. She did not want him to worry about her or feel bad about moving so much because of his job. But as she lay in bed that night, Maya wondered if Riverside High School would be different, or if it would be just like all the others. Maya had been at Riverside High School for 1 week, and every day felt like a battle she had to fight alone. She quickly learned that the school had its own rules about who belonged and who did not. At the top of the social ladder was Jessica Martinez, a girl with long straight hair and expensive clothes who seemed to control what everyone else thought and did. Jessica had noticed Maya on the very first day and decided she did not like the new girl. During lunch on Maya's third day, Jessica walked over to her table with 3 of her friends, following behind her like shadows. Maya was eating her sandwich quietly when Jessica stopped right in front of her table. "Nice hair," Jessica said in a voice loud enough for everyone around them to hear. "Do you ever brush it, or does it just grow like that naturally?" Her friends giggled, and other students at nearby tables turned to watch what was happening. Maya looked up at Jessica but did not say anything. She had learned that responding to bullies often made things worse. Jessica seemed angry that Maya was not reacting, so she continued talking. "I guess some people just do not know how to take care of themselves," Jessica said even louder. "Maybe someone should teach her how things work around here." The cafeteria had become very quiet, and Maya could feel everyone staring at her. Her face felt hot with embarrassment, but she kept eating her sandwich and tried to pretend nothing was happening. Finally, Jessica and her friends walked away laughing, but Maya knew this was just the beginning. Every day after that, Jessica found new ways to make Maya feel unwelcome. She would make comments about Maya's clothes, saying they looked cheap or old-fashioned. She would bump into Maya in the hallways and then act like it was an accident. During group projects in classes, Jessica would make sure Maya was left out or ignored. The worst part was that other students saw what was happening, but nobody tried to help Maya. Some of them looked uncomfortable when Jessica was being mean, but they were too afraid to speak up. Maya understood why they stayed quiet, because Jessica had power at the school, and going against her meant becoming a target too. Maya started spending her lunch periods in the library where it was quiet, and Jessica rarely went. She would sit at a table in the back corner and do her homework or read books. The librarian, Mrs. Chen, was kind to Maya and would sometimes recommend books he thought Maya might enjoy. But even in the library, Maya felt lonely and wished she had friends to talk to. At home, Maya tried to act normal when she talked to her father on the phone. Marcus would call her every few days from whatever city he was performing in and ask about school. Maya would tell him that classes were good and she was making friends. She did not want him to know the truth because he already felt guilty about moving so much for his career. After hanging up the phone, Maya would go to her room and play her guitar. Music was the only thing that made her feel better when everything else was going wrong. She would play songs her father had taught her and sometimes make up her own melodies. The music helped her forget about Jessica and the other students who made her feel like she did not belong. Some nights Maya would lie in bed and think about her old schools. She wondered if the kids she had tried to be friends with at other places ever thought about her. She hoped that someday she would find a place where people would accept her for who she really was instead of judging her by how she looked. Maya was getting tired of always being the outsider, but she did not know how to change things. She just hoped that somehow school would get better before it got even worse. Maya was walking through the school hallways during lunch break, trying to find a quiet place to eat her sandwich. She had grown tired of hiding in the library every day and wanted to explore different parts of the school. As she walked past the main office and down a hallway she had never been in before, she heard the sound of piano music coming from one of the rooms. The music drew her closer like a magnet pulling on metal. Maya followed the sound until she found a door with a sign that said music room. She peeked through the small window in the door and saw a large room filled with different instruments. There were guitars hanging on the walls, drums in one corner, and a beautiful black piano in the center of the room. Maya pushed the door open slowly and then stepped inside. The room was empty and quiet now that the piano music had stopped. She looked around at all the instruments and felt her heart beating faster with excitement. At home she only had her old guitar, but here there were so many different ways to make music. She walked over to the piano and sat down on the bench. Maya had learned to play piano when she was younger before her family started moving so much. Her fingers found the keys naturally, and she began playing a melody that had been stuck in her head for weeks. The sound filled the empty room and made her feel peaceful for the first time since starting at this new school. As Maya played the piano, she began to hum along with the melody. The humming turned into quiet singing, and soon she was pouring her heart out through the music. She sang about feeling lonely and different, but also about hope and dreams that kept her going. The words seemed to come from somewhere deep inside her, and she did not even realize how beautiful her voice sounded echoing in the empty room. Maya was so lost in the music that she did not notice someone standing in the doorway listening to her sing. When she finished the song and opened her eyes, she saw a man with gray hair and kind eyes clapping his hands quietly. "That was absolutely beautiful," the man said as he walked into the room. "I am Mr. Thompson, the music teacher here at Riverside High. I have been teaching music for 20 years, and I know real talent when I hear it." Maya felt her face turn red with embarrassment. She had not meant for anyone to hear her singing, and now she worried that she might get in trouble for being in the music room without permission. "I am sorry," Maya said quickly. "I did not know I was not supposed to be here. I was just walking by and heard the piano." "You are not in trouble at all," Mr. Thompson said with a warm smile. "Music is meant to be shared and enjoyed. What is your name?" "Maya Johnson," she replied, still feeling nervous about being caught. "Well, Maya Johnson, you have a gift that should not be hidden," Mr. Thompson said. "Have you ever thought about joining our school choir? We meet every Tuesday and Thursday after school, and we could really use someone with your voice." Maya looked down at her hands on the piano keys. She wanted to say yes more than anything, but she was afraid of putting herself out there again. What if the other students in choir were like Jessica? What if they made fun of her or treated her badly? "I do not know," Maya said quietly. "I am still pretty new here, and I do not know if I would fit in." Mr. Thompson sat down on the bench next to Maya and spoke gently. "Music has a way of bringing people together, Maya. When people hear someone sing with real emotion and talent, they forget about everything else that might divide them. I think you might be surprised by how welcoming the choir students can be." Maya thought about what Mr. Thompson was saying. Maybe this could be her chance to finally find a place where she belonged. After thinking about Mr. Thompson's invitation for 3 days, Maya finally decided to try joining the choir. She was nervous and scared, but she missed making music with other people. On Thursday after school, she walked slowly to the music room, where she could hear voices singing together in harmony. Maya stood outside the door for a few minutes listening to the beautiful sound of the choir practicing. She almost turned around and went home, but then she remembered how good it felt to sing in the music room by herself. She took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The choir stopped singing when Maya walked in, and everyone turned to look at her. There were about 20 students sitting in chairs arranged in rows, and Maya recognized some of them from her classes. Mr. Thompson smiled when he saw her and waved her over. "Everyone, this is Maya Johnson, and she has decided to join our choir," Mr. Thompson announced to the group. "Maya, why don't you take a seat in the back row, and we will start with some warm-up exercises." Maya walked to the back row, trying not to look at the faces staring at her. She sat down next to a girl with red hair who smiled at her kindly. As the choir began their warm-up exercises, Maya sang quietly, trying to blend in with the other voices around her. But even when Maya tried to sing softly, her voice stood out. It was rich and strong, and seemed to make all the other voices sound better when they sang together. Mr. Thompson noticed right away, but he did not say anything that would embarrass Maya in front of the group. After about 30 minutes of practice, Mr. Thompson dismissed the choir, and most of the students left quickly to catch their rides home. Maya was packing up her backpack when the red-haired girl who had sat next to her came over to talk. "Hi, I'm Sarah," the girl said with a friendly smile. "You have a really amazing voice. Have you been singing for a long time?" "Thanks," Maya replied, feeling surprised that someone was being nice to her. "I have been singing since I was little, but I have never been in a real choir before." "Well, you are going to love it here," Sarah said. "Mr. Thompson is the best teacher, and he really cares about helping us improve. Are you going to come back on Tuesday?" Maya nodded and felt a small spark of hope in her chest. Maybe she had finally found something good at this school. Over the next few weeks, Maya continued going to choir practice twice a week. She still sat in the back row and tried to blend in, but Mr. Thompson began giving her small solo parts during their rehearsals. The other choir members seemed to like Maya, and several of them started saying hello to her in the hallways at school. But Maya's happiness was threatened when she discovered that Jessica Martinez was also in the choir. Jessica had been absent from practice for the first few weeks. Maya attended, but when she came back, she was not happy to see the new girl there. "What is she doing here?" Jessica whispered loudly to her friend during practice one day. "I thought this was for serious singers only." Maya heard the comment and felt her stomach tighten with anxiety. She had hoped that maybe in the music room things would be different, but Jessica seemed determined to make her miserable everywhere she went. Despite Jessica's continued meanness, Maya looked forward to choir practice more than anything else in her week. When she was singing, she felt strong and confident and forgot about all the problems she faced during regular school hours. Mr. Thompson continued to encourage her and even started staying after practice to work with Maya on more challenging songs. "You have something special, Maya," Mr. Thompson told her one afternoon after everyone else had left. "Your voice has the power to move people and make them feel things deeply. That is a rare gift that should be shared with the world." Maya smiled at the compliment, but inside she still felt uncertain about her place at Riverside High School. She was grateful for choir, but she wondered if her voice really was as special as Mr. Thompson said it was. On a cold Monday morning in November, the principal made an announcement over the school intercom that changed everything for Maya. The annual Riverside High School Talent Show was coming up in 3 weeks, and students who wanted to participate needed to sign up for auditions by Friday. Maya was sitting in her math class when she heard the announcement, but she tried not to get too excited. She had never performed by herself in front of a large audience, and the thought of it made her stomach feel nervous. But there was something else that caught her attention. The winner of the talent show would receive a scholarship to attend the prestigious Berkeley Summer Music Program. After school, Maya went to choir practice as usual, and everyone was talking about the talent show. Several of the choir members were planning to audition, and they were excited about the chance to perform for the whole school. "Maya, you should totally audition," Sarah said during a break in practice. "Your voice is incredible, and I know you would have a great chance of winning." Maya felt her cheeks get warm with embarrassment. She wanted to audition more than anything, but she was scared of what might happen if she got up on stage by herself. What if people laughed at her? What if Jessica and her friends made fun of her performance? Mr. Thompson must have overheard their conversation because he came over to talk to Maya after practice ended. "I hope you are thinking about auditioning for the talent show, Maya," he said. "I truly believe you have what it takes to win the whole competition." "I do not know, Mr. Thompson," Maya replied. "I have never performed alone in front of so many people before. What if I mess up?" "The best performers are always nervous before they go on stage," Mr. Thompson said kindly. "That nervousness shows that you care about doing well. But when you start singing, Maya, you forget about everything else except the music. I have seen it happen during our practices." That night, Maya could not stop thinking about the talent show. She went to her room and picked up her guitar and started playing a song she had been working on for months. It was about finding strength when everything seems impossible, and about never giving up on your dreams, even when other people try to bring you down. Maya had written the song during her loneliest days at Riverside High, when Jessica's bullying was at its worst. The lyrics came from her heart, and every word meant something important to her. As she played and sang in her bedroom, Maya realized this song might be perfect for the talent show. When her father called that evening, Maya decided to tell him about the talent show and ask for his advice. Marcus Reed had performed on some of the biggest stages in the world, and Maya knew he would understand her fears. "Dad, there is a talent show at my school, and I am thinking about auditioning," Maya said into the phone. "But I am really scared about performing in front of everyone." "Maya, honey," her father said in his warm voice that always made her feel better. "I remember my first time performing alone on stage. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my guitar. But the moment I started singing, everything else disappeared, and it was just me and the music." "What if people do not like my song? What if they think I am not good enough?" Maya asked. "Your music comes from your heart, Maya, and that is the most powerful thing in the world," Marcus said. "When you sing with honesty and emotion, people can feel it even if they do not want to. Music has the power to change minds and touch hearts in ways that nothing else can." After talking to her father, Maya felt more confident about auditioning. She spent the rest of the week practicing her song and making sure every word and every note was perfect. On Friday morning, she walked to the music room and signed her name on the audition list. Maya Johnson was going to audition for the talent show, and she was going to give it everything she had. She did not know what would happen, but she knew she had to try. This might be her chance to show everyone at Riverside High School who she really was. The day of auditions arrived, and Maya felt like her heart was going to beat right out of her chest. She had practiced her song hundreds of times in her bedroom, but performing it for the judges would be completely different. She arrived at school early and went straight to the music room to warm up her voice and calm her nerves. Mr. Thompson was already there setting up chairs for the judges and preparing the sound system. When he saw Maya, he smiled and gave her an encouraging nod. "Are you ready for this, Maya?" he asked. "Remember, just sing from your heart like you always do." Maya nodded, but she could not speak because her throat felt tight with nervousness. She had her guitar with her, and she ran through the song one more time to make sure she remembered all the words. At lunchtime, Maya could barely eat anything because her stomach was so full of butterflies. She saw Jessica Martinez sitting with her friends across the cafeteria, and Jessica was talking loudly about how excited she was to audition. Jessica was planning to sing a popular song that everyone knew, and she seemed very confident about her chances. "Some people think they can just show up and win," Jessica said loud enough for Maya to hear. "But real talent takes years to develop, and some people just do not have what it takes." Maya knew Jessica was talking about her, but she tried to ignore the comments and focus on her own performance. At 3 o'clock, she walked to the auditorium where the auditions were being held. There were about 15 students waiting to audition, and Maya sat in the back row trying to stay calm. One by one, the students went up on stage to perform. Some sang popular songs, others played instruments, and a few did dance routines. Maya watched each performance and felt more nervous with every passing minute. These students all seemed so confident and comfortable on stage. Finally, it was Maya's turn. She walked up the steps to the stage carrying her guitar and feeling like her legs might give out underneath her. The auditorium was mostly empty except for the 3 judges sitting in the front row. Mr. Thompson was one of the judges along with the drama teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, and the principal, Mr. Davis. Maya sat down on the stool in the center of the stage and adjusted her guitar. The bright stage lights made it hard to see the judges, but she could feel them watching her. She took a deep breath and began to play the opening chords of her song. At first, Maya's voice was quiet and shaky, but as she got into the song, she began to feel more confident. The words of her song told the story of her struggles at Riverside High and her determination to keep believing in herself. Her voice grew stronger with each verse, and she forgot about everything except the music. The song was about a girl who looked different from everyone else, but who refused to let other people define her worth. It was about finding courage in the darkest moments and discovering that being different could actually be a source of strength. Maya sang with every ounce of emotion she had inside her, and her voice filled the auditorium with raw power and beauty. When Maya finished singing, the auditorium was completely silent. She looked down at the judges and saw that all 3 of them were staring at her with their mouths open. Mr. Thompson had tears in his eyes, and even the principal, who was known for being very serious, looked amazed. "Maya," that was Mr. Thompson started to say, but then stopped because he seemed too emotional to find the right words. "That was extraordinary," Mrs. Rodriguez finally said. "I have been teaching at this school for 15 years, and I have never heard anything like that. Did you write that song yourself?" Maya nodded and felt her cheeks turn red. She had not expected such a strong reaction from the judges, and she did not know what to say. "You are definitely one of our finalists," Mr. Davis said. "We will announce the top 5 performers tomorrow morning, and the final competition will be next Friday evening." Maya walked off the stage feeling like she was floating on air. She had done it. She had performed her song, and the judges loved it. For the first time since starting at Riverside High School, Maya felt proud of herself and excited about what might happen next. But she had no idea that her audition was about to change everything at school in ways she never could have imagined. The next morning, Maya walked into school feeling different than she had in months. Word about her amazing audition had spread quickly, and for the first time, students were looking at her with curiosity instead of judgment. When the principal announced the talent show finalists over the intercom, Maya felt a rush of excitement when she heard her name called. But Jessica Martinez was furious. She had also made it to the finals, but she was angry that Maya was getting so much positive attention. Jessica had been the star performer at school events for years, and she did not like sharing the spotlight with anyone, especially not the girl she had been bullying. During lunch, Jessica decided it was time to put Maya back in her place. She walked over to Maya's table in the cafeteria with her three closest friends, following behind her like an army. Maya was eating quietly and reading a book when Jessica slammed her hand down on the table. "So you think you are some kind of star now," Jessica said loud enough for everyone in the cafeteria to hear, "just because you fooled the judges with your little sob story song." Maya looked up from her book, but did not say anything. She had learned that staying quiet was usually the best way to handle Jessica's attacks. But today felt different. Maya had found her voice on the stage yesterday, and something inside her had changed. "I heard your song was about being different and not fitting in," Jessica continued with a mean laugh. "Well, maybe there is a reason you do not fit in, Maya. Maybe some people just do not belong in places like this." Other students in the cafeteria had stopped eating and were watching the confrontation. Maya could feel everyone staring at her and waiting to see what would happen. Her hands were shaking, but she was not sure if it was from fear or anger. "You know what I think," Jessica said, getting even louder. "I think you are just looking for attention and sympathy." Poor little Maya with her sad story, trying to make everyone feel sorry for her. Maya felt something snap inside her chest. She had been quiet and patient for months while Jessica made her life miserable. She had taken the insults and the cruel comments without fighting back. But today was different. Today she was tired of being pushed around. Maya stood up from her table and looked directly at Jessica. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong, just like when she sang. "You do not know anything about me, Jessica," Maya said. "You have spent months trying to make me feel small and worthless, but you do not even know who I really am." The entire cafeteria was now completely silent. Students at tables all around them had stopped talking and were watching the two girls face each other. Maya could see shock on Jessica's face because she had never expected Maya to fight back. "I have been at 4 different schools in 3 years," Maya continued. "I have been the new girl and the outsider more times than I can count. I know what it feels like to be judged by the way I look before people even know my name." Maya's voice was getting stronger and more confident with every word. She was no longer speaking just to Jessica, but to everyone in the cafeteria who had watched her be bullied without doing anything to help. "But you know what I have learned," Maya said. "Being different is not something to be ashamed of. Being different means you have something unique to offer the world, and I would rather be different and real than fake and popular." Jessica's face was turning red with anger and embarrassment. She had never been challenged like this in front of so many people, and she did not know how to respond. "You think you are so special," Jessica finally said. "But you are nobody, Maya Johnson. You are just a weird girl with a big mouth who thinks she can sing." "Maybe I am nobody to you, Jessica," Maya replied. "But at least I know who I am. I do not have to put other people down to feel good about myself. I do not have to be mean and cruel to get attention." The confrontation ended when Jessica realized she was not winning this battle. She turned and walked away with her friends, but Maya could see the anger burning in her eyes. Maya sat back down at her table and tried to calm her racing heart. For the first time in months, Maya had stood up for herself, and it felt amazing. But she also knew that this was just the beginning, and Jessica would not give up easily. The night of the talent show finally arrived, and the Riverside High School auditorium was packed with students, parents, and community members. Maya stood backstage looking through the curtain at all the people filling the seats. She had never performed in front of so many people before, and her hands were shaking as she held her guitar. The other 4 finalists were also backstage getting ready for their performances. Jessica Martinez was fixing her makeup and practicing her dance moves while talking loudly about how she was going to win. Maya tried to ignore Jessica's confident chatter and focus on preparing herself mentally for her performance. Mr. Thompson came backstage to wish all the performers good luck. When he got to Maya, he put his hand on her shoulder and spoke quietly so only she could hear. "Remember, Maya, just sing from your heart like you always do," he said. "Do not worry about anything else except sharing your gift with these people. They are going to love you." Maya nodded and tried to smile, but her stomach was full of butterflies. She had practiced her song hundreds of times, but performing it on this big stage, in front of all these people, felt completely different than singing in her bedroom or even during her audition. The show began and Maya watched from the side of the stage as the first performer went out. A boy from her history class played a guitar solo that got a nice round of applause. Then a girl performed a dance routine that had everyone clapping along to the music. Jessica was the third performer, and she walked out on stage like she owned the place. She sang a popular song that everyone in the audience knew, and her performance was polished and professional. The crowd cheered loudly when she finished, and Jessica smiled and waved like she had already won the competition. A boy who played piano was the fourth performer, and he did a beautiful classical piece that showed off his technical skills. The audience appreciated his talent and gave him respectful applause when he finished his song. Then it was Maya's turn. She walked out onto the stage carrying her guitar and sat down on the stool in the center of the spotlight. The auditorium was so big, and there were so many faces looking up at her from the darkness beyond the stage lights. Maya looked out at the audience and saw Jessica sitting in the front row with her arms crossed and a smirk on her face. Jessica whispered something to her friends, and they all laughed quietly. Maya knew they were waiting for her to fail so they could make fun of her later. But then Maya saw other faces in the crowd. She saw Mr. Thompson giving her an encouraging smile. She saw Sarah from choir sitting with her parents and giving Maya a thumbs up. She saw students from her classes who had started saying hello to her in the hallways after hearing about her audition. Maya took a deep breath and began to play the opening chords of her song. At first her voice was quiet because she was still nervous, but as she got into the first verse, she began to feel the familiar magic that happened when she sang. The song was about her journey from feeling lost and alone to finding her own strength and voice. She sang about the pain of being judged and rejected, but also about the hope that kept her going even in the darkest times. Her voice grew stronger and more powerful with each line, and soon it was filling every corner of the auditorium. As Maya sang, she forgot about Jessica and the bullying and all the cruel comments. She forgot about being nervous and scared. All that mattered was the music and the story she was telling through her song. Her voice soared over the silent audience, and every person in that auditorium could feel the raw emotion and honesty in her performance. When Maya reached the chorus of her song, her voice became even more powerful. She sang about refusing to let other people define her worth, and about finding the courage to be herself even when it was hard. The words seemed to come from the deepest part of her soul, and her voice carried them to every person listening. The auditorium was completely silent except for Maya's voice and guitar. Even Jessica had stopped smirking and was staring at Maya with a look of shock and amazement. Maya finished her song with a final powerful note that seemed to hang in the air for several seconds after she stopped singing. Then the entire auditorium exploded with applause. Everyone was on their feet clapping and cheering louder than Maya had ever heard. Some people were wiping tears from their eyes and others were shouting her name. Maya stood up from her stool and looked out at the crowd with amazement. She had done it. She had shared her heart through music, and people had really heard her. Maya's performance did not just win the talent show, it changed everything at Riverside High School. When the judges announced that she was the winner, the entire auditorium erupted in cheers again. Maya walked across the stage to accept her trophy and scholarship with tears of joy streaming down her face. But winning the competition was just the beginning of Maya's transformation. The next Monday, when she walked through the school hallways, everything was different. Students who had never spoken to her before came up to congratulate her on her performance. Kids who had watched Jessica bully her for months now approached Maya with apologies and friendship. "Maya, that song was incredible," said a girl from her English class. "I had no idea you were such an amazing singer. Would you like to sit with us at lunch today?" For the first time in months, Maya did not have to eat lunch alone. She found herself surrounded by students who wanted to get to know the real Maya Johnson. They asked about her music and her life, and seemed genuinely interested in being her friends. The most surprising change came from Jessica Martinez herself. 3 days after the talent show, Jessica approached Maya at her locker when no one else was around. Maya tensed up, expecting another confrontation, but Jessica looked different. Her usual confident smirk was gone, and she seemed nervous and unsure of herself. "Maya, can I talk to you for a minute?" Jessica asked quietly. Maya nodded and waited to see what Jessica was going to say. She was prepared for more insults or cruel comments, but what came next shocked her completely. "I owe you an apology," Jessica said, looking down at the floor. "I have been horrible to you since the day you got here, and there is no excuse for how I treated you. Your performance the other night was the most beautiful thing I have ever heard, and it made me realize what a terrible person I have been." Maya stared at Jessica in amazement. This was the last thing she had expected to hear from the girl who had made her life miserable for months. "I was jealous of you, Maya," Jessica continued. "You have real talent, and you are genuine and kind even after everything I put you through. I have been so focused on being popular and staying on top that I forgot how to be a decent human being." Jessica looked up at Maya with tears in her eyes. "I know I do not deserve it, but I hope someday you might be able to forgive me. I want to be better than I have been." Maya felt her anger toward Jessica melting away. She could see that Jessica's apology was sincere and that she really was sorry for her actions. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Jessica," Maya said. "I forgive you and I hope we can start over." The two girls shook hands and Maya felt like a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She no longer had to worry about being bullied or made fun of at school. Word about Maya's talent spread beyond Riverside High School when someone posted a video of her performance online. The video went viral and was shared thousands of times on social media. Music industry professionals began reaching out to Maya and her father, offering recording contracts and opportunities to perform. But the most important change was not the fame or the opportunities. The most important change was that Maya had finally found her place. She had discovered that her voice was not just a way to make music, but a way to touch people's hearts and bring them together. Mr. Thompson helped Maya start a songwriting club at school where students could share their own original music. The club became very popular and gave other students who felt like outsiders a place where they belonged. Maya's father, Marcus Reed, was incredibly proud of his daughter when he returned from his tour. He had always known Maya was talented, but seeing how she had used her gift to overcome adversity and help others made him even more proud of the young woman she was becoming. "You did not just win a talent show, Maya," he told her. "You showed everyone the power of staying true to yourself and never giving up on your dreams. That is the most important victory of all." Maya Johnson had started the school year as a lonely outsider who felt like she did not belong anywhere. But through courage, determination, and the power of music, she had found her voice and transformed not just her own life, but the lives of everyone around her. She had learned that being different was not a weakness, but a strength, and that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the most difficult experiences. Maya's story became an inspiration to other students who felt different or left out. She showed them that it was possible to overcome bullying and prejudice by staying true to yourself and never giving up on your dreams. And most importantly, she proved that one voice raised in truth and courage has the power to change the world.